Thank you everyone for joining us today for our 6th session of CEC 15's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion series. I'm Camille Casaretti, the president of Brooklyn District 15 Community Education Council, and I'm really excited to be hosting this series of 8 information sessions that allow our school community members and incoming families to learn about efforts to advance equity, diversity, and inclusion in our elementary and middle and high schools. We have 2 more sessions scheduled in this series, so please save these dates for Monday, November 30th and Monday, December 14th. I see that the screen is being shared with those session topics, so please, if you would, share them with your school communities, and I will drop that information in the chat as well so that you have the link. There you go. So we've heard from a variety of speakers in these sessions that range from Department of Education representatives, early childhood experts, and education researchers. We've learned about social emotional learning and how diverse, inclusive classrooms can lead to greater academic and social outcomes that benefit all members of our communities. In our last session, we talked about how cultural awareness in classroom practices create interconnectedness and help children learn self-awareness, all of which help both children and adults make more thoughtful choices for themselves and for others. Today, our session will focus on appropriate settings and cooperative learning. We touched on this earlier in sessions 2 and 3. You can find those videos and our other session videos on the CECD15.org website under the DEI tab. And I will drop that in the chat as well. There you go. As you're listening to the speakers today, think about your own child's experience in their classroom. Is it inclusive? Are there students with mixed abilities there? Are our instructors teaching to the whole child? Are all children getting the support they need? It's especially difficult at this time with remote learning and during the pandemic, but we have amazing teachers and administrators in District 15. So I'm sure that a lot of you are having wonderful experiences in your schools. With the leadership of District 15 Superintendent Scott, we've been moving in the right direction as a district and as a school system. We have to continue examining our cultures as a school community and do what we can to change exclusive practices to inclusive practices. We want to have mixed ability grouping so that we can create schools for all learners where everyone is welcome and everyone can contribute to the community. Our first guest speaker is Alan Bibergal. He's the Administrator of Special Education for District 15. Alan works with Executive Superintendent Karen Watts in the Brooklyn North Borough office and with Superintendent Scott's team in the district office. Alan is going to be speaking about the services that the DOE has to offer regarding inclusive classrooms. These classroom settings are mutually beneficial to all students. Gen Ed.
Hold on one second, I have to leave a meeting.
And they allow all students to achieve goals while remaining true to our mutual beliefs and mission. Alan, it's all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. It's good to see administrators and parents from District 15. So I'm just going to give a quick overview. I spoke to Camille last week regarding what integrated co-teaching is, just really clarify and potentially any misconceptions so everyone's fully aware of what ICT is. So integrated co-teaching is it's a general education setting. It is a classroom comprised of 60% students who are general education, and 40% of the students have an educational disability. The academic rigor is the same, the class is the same, but really it's an opportunity for students who have an educational disability to learn with their gen ed peers. It's also helpful for the gen ed students because they have an opportunity to learn from students who have differences. So they learn from one another, and it really is a successful setting. And that's like what ICT is in a nutshell. If there's specific questions or if you want me to get into more detail, let me know.
Thanks, Alan. I wonder, like, could you talk a little bit more about, like, the IDEA law and how it relates?
No worries. So when a student is recommended special education services, it's been determined first and foremost to have an educational disability. If you have an educational disability, when we start considering services, we want to offer the least restrictive setting. What least restrictive means is ensuring access to the gen ed curriculum and being amongst general education peers. So when we go through the continuum, we give a quick rundown in terms of restrictiveness. We have related service only students, and this is when a student receives only related services. They're pulled in or the service is provided in class, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, hearing education, but the student is predominantly in a general education setting and they receive related services. When we move up the continuum in terms of restrictiveness, we have something called SETS, Special Education Teacher Support Services. Once again, most of the classroom time is in a general education setting. Most of the students' academic periods are general education, and no more than 50% and no less than 3 hours of their instructional time on their IEP would be either in a separate classroom with a special education teacher, or the special education teacher would push into the general education class. And now we have integrated co-teaching. Integrated co-teaching is a special education service, but in terms of restrictiveness, the student is in a general education classroom amongst their general education peers. So the level of restrictiveness is that, yes, the student may have any level of ICT, a full-time program, a part-time program, but the entire time they're in a general education class with their general education peers. So once again, the academic and the social benefits for the student are, research shows, exponentially greater. And also, once again, for the general education peers, it's an opportunity to learn from other students. And we can't think of just as a disability having any restraints, because a student may have a specific reading disability, but have excel in mathematics. So the teachers are not just working with the student with that IEP, they're working together to support the students with this disability, but also to ensure that the gen ed peers are learning from their other students and vice versa.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that really great update. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to get on this call today. Next, we're going to hear about NYU's partnership with the Department of Education and Hunter College's School of Education, which began in 2001. This was meant to fill a gap in the programs the DOE offered for higher functioning children on the autism spectrum. That collaboration resulted in the ASD NEST program, which was piloted at PS 32 right here in District 15 in September of 2003. Its goal was and is to help children on the autism spectrum learn how to function well academically, behaviorally, and socially in school and in their community. The ASD NEST program currently serves more than 1,500 children with ASD in over 300 fully inclusive NEST classrooms in 54 schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. We're thrilled to have Principal Denise Watson Aiden of PS 32 here with us today. Principal Watson has been working collaboratively with District 15 for over a decade and sat on the D15 Diversity Plan Working Group. She is a believer in the strength of parents as partners and a hard worker who is always looking for ways to ensure that every child gets what they need to be happy and successful. She's transformed PS 32 in the years that she has served there as principal, and we are proud to have her representing our district Denise, thank you for joining us and sharing your success story.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us here. So when we talk about the ASD Nest program at PS 32, the notion behind it was the notion of inclusion and inclusivity, helping students who have autism to be able to work with their common peers to learn social interactions and really to work on communication and being a part of the classroom. In our school and in this program, we make sure that students are not only working together and seeing themselves as learners, but also seeing themselves as a part of the community to problem solve and understand how to better work with each other, especially as difficulties arrive. I think the biggest piece of the learning has to do around being flexible. For many of our students on the autism spectrum, they're very rigid and very black and white in their thinking. And so being with their neurotypical peers, learning nuances, and then participating in programs like SDI, which is our Social Development Initiative, where those students work with different scenarios of everyday problems, learning how to problem solve them and understanding those nuances. I think the biggest piece, especially when we start thinking about middle school for those students, is really being able to be advocates for themselves, being able to say who they are as learners, but also being able, more importantly, to ask for help and being able to know exactly what help they need as they are as they see themselves as learners. So we're very happy to be able to work with NYU and have a really good partnership. We have monthly, quarterly meetings with our leadership team. We have visits from our speech and psychologists, as well as we also have like a coach who's with us, and we have a coach on staff. So we feel very supportive in just making sure that our students are well prepared, not only as academics, but also as effective communicators and advocates for their learning.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've had the pleasure of working with Principal Watson for many years now, and she is really a dynamic and dedicated leader. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on the call today. So we find time and time again that practices that are good for students with special needs are good for all students. I want to share these video links of the NYU website that highlight each level of schooling within the NEST program. So different concepts for elementary, middle, and high school. You can look at these at your leisure. And transforming from elementary to middle school can be tough for any student, but particularly so for students with ASD. And the NEST Middle School model supports young adolescent students with ASD in their development of academic skills, social competencies, self-advocacy skills to lay the groundwork for independent functioning in their education careers. So we have two middle schools here in District 15 that offer the ASD NEST program. That's MS 442 and MS 447. And we also have an ASD NEST high school model here in District 15 that helps to fulfill the mission of supporting emerging adults to become ready to meet and fulfill their unique potential. Our next speaker is Lindsay Baumgarten. She's the assistant principal of Millennium Brooklyn. And Lindsay began her teaching career as a special education teacher immediately after completing her undergraduate degree. She taught students who were classified with autism and emotional disturbances in a self-contained environment for 5 years. She's worked at Millennium as an academic support teacher, special ed admissions coordinator, and now as assistant principal at the high school. Lindsay wrote the proposal for Millennium Brooklyn in collaboration with Dr. Joy. She completed her master's degree in learning disabilities in 2005 from Hunter College and received her school building leader certificate in 2009 from Baruch College. Assistant Principal Baumgarten will be talking to us today about the ASD Nest High School model that builds off the middle school model, sharing the same philosophical foundations, providing familiar programmatic structures, and working to develop self-determined students. Lindsay, welcome.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. I love talking about the NETS program and what we've done at Millennium Brooklyn since the start of the school. When we started the school in 2011, we were the first NEST high school, and that we really knew that we had to think about the transition from elementary to middle and now high school, and what would high school look like, and what skills they needed to know to really be ready to go to college or to take the next steps more independently. When students come to us, our goal is to have them leaving really able to advocate for themselves to the best of their ability and be as independent as possible. What we realized at a high school level is that we really need to individualize the supports a little more than maybe in the younger grades to make sure that each student is making progress to independence. So in 9th grade, we come in and a lot of the students take the same supports. We have a college readiness course, and this course really worked on their executive functioning skills along with their social skills. At Millennium Brooklyn, it's taught with our NEST coach and one of our speech pathologists. And the idea is to work with the students in our program to really target their executive functioning skills and social skills. For the executive functioning skills, we target time management, prioritizing assignments, how to use a planner, how to break down large assignments, along with do a lot of group work. And for students on the spectrum, that could be something that's difficult. So we really target those social skills on how to work with the group, what is the difference between a friend and an acquaintance, and all those social skills that don't come as natural to students on the spectrum, that a lot of students, both neurotypical and students on the spectrum, face when coming into 9th grade in high school and making adjustments and friends. So that's all covered in our college readiness course. And something that we and the NEST program developed a few years back are called transition meetings. And the transition meetings happen twice a year, every year from 9th to 12th grade. And this meeting really allows us to work on the students being able to advocate for themselves. So some schools I know do it with the social worker. At Millennium Brooklyn, we do it with our speech providers. And they meet with the students twice a year to really say, these are the supports you're getting, what's working, what's not, what can we adjust, and letting the students have a voice. So 9th and 10th grade, we're really getting to know the students and the supports they need. And in 10th grade, it's a little more individualized than in 9th grade. So during the transition meetings and getting to know the students, we realize that they're on an advanced track and they need to take language. They might not take college readiness, but we'll make sure they get the social skills support and the counseling support they need. So it's more individualized. Some students need one-on-one social skills to really target the concerns that they're having socially, and some benefit from a group to help make friendships. So these are all discussions that we're having in the transition meetings and with the families. And then in 11th and 12th grade, it's really starting to prepare for the college process. We have our 2 college counselors, along with our transition coordinator is one of our social workers, and she works with the college counselors hand in hand so that we could find the right fit for students. Usually for our gen ed students, the college process starts late in 11th grade, starts a little earlier for students on the spectrum so that we could really work with the families and figure out, are they ready to go away? Do they need a program similar to the NETS program? There are many colleges now that have that. Are they ready to go with no supports? Are they going to disclose to colleges that they have been in the NEST program? So this is all work that happens very early on in 11th grade, and from 11th grade all the way until they apply to college. And our social worker, our college counselors, and our speech providers are working very closely with the families to figure all these things out. And there are a lot of groups together too. They'll work in college prep groups. Then in 12th grade, they have, that's when they do the application process. They're working with their families. And once they decide what colleges they're going to, they are then working on the social skills to prep them for things that could be very difficult. Living with a roommate, can they live with a roommate? Should they live alone? And all those type of social skills that come is targeted in our social skills in 12th grade. We've had students come to us at all different levels and leaving us, going to all different places. So for that, for example, we've had students come in our first year and was our valedictorian and went to Macaulay Honors with very little support. We've had students who in 9th grade have sat in the back of the auditorium in orientation and wouldn't move for the entire day, to going to PACE to their OASIS program, which is similar to the NETS program. So we really help families find what is right for their child. We have another student who came in 9th grade, and I actually taught the college readiness class back then. And I'll never forget, he had a 100-word password and typed it into his computer, not even looking, but had trouble organizing himself and communicating with his peers. And now he's an advocate for children, students with autism in the NEST program. He's presented at NEST kickoff. So we've had students make some really great progress. If there's anything else, I'm happy to answer questions. I hope I didn't go too fast.
Really wonderful information, and it's so great to know that you all are doing so much work to support the children moving out of high school and into career and college readiness. So thank you so much for all of that amazing work that you're doing. It's really appreciated. And thank you for sharing these stories. I think it's really important for people in our community to understand all the different levels of support that are happening. So thank you. Our next speaker, Dean Altman-Mitchell, has been principal of the Park Slope Education Complex at MS 88 since 2005. And she's been engaged in educational leadership and instruction for over 20 years. She's recognized for having transformed MS 88 from one of the most challenged New York City public schools into one of the most prominent middle schools in the United States. She turned around the school and placed committed teachers from Teach for America, New York City Teaching Fellows, Brooklyn College education students, and Columbia University interns to create a culture of collaboration, integration, and innovation. MS 88 is based on a unique system of collaborative curriculum development and integrated project-based learning. MS 88 is a site study school for other educational programs such as School of One and GK-12. With a $2 million grant, she launched the School of One, a personalized blended learning math curriculum, and secured over $3 million in funding to overhaul 3 science labs with state-of-the-art equipment and technology. MS 88 is co-located with P53K, a District 75 school that provides highly specialized instructional support for students with significant challenges and multiple disabilities. Principal Mitchell will tell us about how both principals collaboratively work together to achieve integration and inclusion goals. Ms. Mitchell, are you there? Saida, can you hear me?
Yes, I don't see her on the list.
Maybe she got bounced out. I've been having some problems myself here. You know what? I can't even see my chat anymore. hold on, let me try to go to another computer. I will be right back.
Camille, this is Kelly. And Saida, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just got off the phone with Aileen and she's jumping on right now. She thought it was 1:45, but she's getting on right now.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Kelly, if the timing is like an interruption for her, I actually have a video that I was going to show at the end of the meeting, and we could show it now.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess, you know, silences are awkward when you have all the people on the line here. So my guess is that she'll probably be on in like 3 minutes probably or so.
Yeah, so Saida, let's then show the video, and this is an incredibly beautiful and moving video about a school in Queens in District 26 that was created with inclusion and collaboration at its core. So I'll share the link in the chat in case people have a problem with the technology, and Saida is going to do a screen share now.
Saida, there's no volume.
Responsible for everyone and everything that goes on inside the Queens High School of Teaching.
Now, what makes this collaboration unique is from the inception of the school design until the opening 2 years ago, the planning has taken place between the two principals and other staff in order to plan for an inclusive philosophy.
The District 75 piece very soon got a name, and the name was the Gardner Community, because in the high school, all of the students belonged to one of 3 communities, and then the Gardner community was our 4th community, and each community was named after an educator, and Howard Gardner is the person who inspired a lot of the thinking behind inclusion. We don't have tracking. All our classes are of all ability students. So we're presenting students with something completely different.
When you think about what an inclusive school looks like, or what an inclusive classroom looks like, you think about people working together, students working, helping each other, that we call that natural supports. Students with special needs don't always need a person that's paid to be with them to support them, but the students learn themselves how to help one another. An example would be in one of our classrooms, Josh is an intern because there's a teaching institute for students here. And he, in the special ed classroom, works on the computer, printing out the board maker picture symbols so that the children can communicate with each other. In fact, Lamont, one of the 811 students, is also a teacher intern in the art class.
Lamont is one of our students with autism, and Lamont is an artist, and he is working in the Teaching Institute as a student intern placed in the art classroom with the art teacher. And his role is to help the art teacher prep the room, get the room ready, clear the room up afterward, but also to help with the work itself once the class is in progress. So he will help students, he'll answer their questions, he'll model how to do something, he'll show how to do something. It's great for him because he gets to show off his area of expertise.
In addition to the teaching internship program, another example of a learning culture in support of inclusion is a project-based classroom. As Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences suggests, hands-on learning and the authentic assessment have our students using manipulatives to augment textbook lessons. The teachers do not use the chalk and talk lecture method. The teacher is a facilitator of the learning, moving through the room in support of each student. The paraprofessionals assist when additional help is needed. We also have tutorials for our students so that if there's a free period for general ed students, our students have that choice as well, but they know they can go to the special ed area for help in their project that's coming up. That's where the adaptations come in and the modifications come in. Another strategy for inclusive instruction is a drop everything and read period, also known as DEAR. And all of our students are invited to attend a general ed class with a book of their choice to read for half an hour every day. And this is another way we promote equity and access and learn how to relate appropriately to each other and to others when they leave school at 3 o'clock and on weekends. They're living in a community of people mostly without disabilities. So how best to learn to work side by side and play side by side with them right in the school buildings. Students challenge each other. So if you walk around the school, you'll see cooperative group learning taking place. You'll see students working together, challenging each other, supporting each other. There's the adult version of that is collaborative teaming. You'll see teachers working together, planning together, discussing students, discussing what worked, what didn't work.
When I was designing the school, I structured it so that there were 3 one-hour periods for each small learning community every week. And this enables the professional team, general educators and special educators, to get together for 3 hours a week and to discuss students and curriculum and assessment and pedagogy, so that they really know each other well, know their practice well, and know their students well. And another thing we do this twice a month. After school, we get together for about an hour and 40 minutes, and we have critical friends groups where teachers will present a piece of student work, and the team will use a protocol to look at the work in great detail and give supportive feedback. We also look at professional articles and have text-based discussions. And the idea is to create a culture that is self-consciously reflective and is always examining practice and how to make that practice even better. And inclusion is one of the components of the ongoing professional conversations.
A very unique part of the school was that this is the first school I've worked in at the high school level in which our own special education teachers were asked to take an active role in teaching general ed students. There's advisories.
And typically, an advisory will be between 14 and 18 students, and advisories meet every single day for a 30-minute literacy piece, and then on Fridays they meet for 90 minutes, a 30-minute literacy piece, and then a 1-hour discussion piece. I think that inclusion benefits everybody. Obviously, it benefits the included students. I have seen tremendous growth and independence and growth in self-image and skill level of many of the District 75 Gardner Community students. And sometimes the growth is only apparent, it's not easily apparent. And sometimes the growth comes out of some of the difficult conversations. I remember having a difficult conversation with one student and a teacher last year. And the teacher was very hard on the student and had not given the student a passing grade. And the student was incredibly articulate. And he spoke to the teacher and said, "You are the first teacher I've ever had who has treated me like an included student. I don't feel like a special education student in your class." And it was a very emotional meeting. The teacher burst into tears. The student was incredibly articulate. I was left, for once in my life, unable to say anything.
Nigel Pugh, the principal of the Queens High School of Teaching, wrote a concept paper about the school and the design of it and his vision. It's shared with all constituents. Before people are hired, they read the concept paper, and there's a rubric for hiring in which it's clear if the person didn't read the concept paper. And he expects, and we expect all people working here to have the same shared values and belief.
When I was designing the school, I took as my inspiration a wonderful middle school that I had seen years before in Queens, the Louis Armstrong Middle School. It's when I was a student at the Principals Institute at Bank Street. And I spent a couple of days at Louis Armstrong. And I was impressed by the students with special needs who were included in the classroom. They were in every single room, and they seemed to be a regular part of what was going on. They were able to join in. Sometimes they needed modifications, sometimes they needed assistance from paraprofessionals or their peers. And I was also impressed with the number of adults in the room. It wasn't just the one teacher, there was also an inclusion teacher and paraprofessionals and parents. And I was intrigued by the way that they worked together. Everyone was working in a multiplicity of roles to provide the best possible education for all students, including the students with special needs.
Inclusion only works if you have supports at the classroom level. The special education teacher helps students across all grades. The paraprofessional provides the at-the-elbow support. And therapists go into the classroom to ensure that the special student can fully participate in whatever subject is being taught. The entire class is enriched by promoting social and academic interaction with all of the students and all of the teachers.
What inclusion has done is it's made us really examine our culture as a school. What are the things that we are doing that are inclusive? And what are the things we're doing that are exclusive, and how can we change exclusive practice into inclusive practice?
Before students come to the school, parents are invited for the open house, in which the principal, Nigel Pugh, will say that this is a full inclusion school and not exclusionary in any way. And there's no tracking, and it's mixed ability groupings, and he promotes that to a point where he wants to make it clear. This is a school for all learners.
I think it's true to say, I know it's true to say, that practices that are good for students with special needs are good for all students. There may be an A student who's very swiftly on her way to Harvard, and that's great. But you know what? She might also benefit from graphic organizers. She might also benefit from assistive technology. She might also benefit from high quality visual aids and representation. So what is good for students with special needs is good for all learners, whether they're children or whether they're adults.
When children with disabilities learn side by side with their non-disabled peers, we are infusing character education throughout the curriculum. We do not separate children from different cultures, races, or religions. We are preparing adults to be more caring, sensitive, and aware of our unique diversity.
Is the opportunity of a lifetime, and it's a gift that was given to me, and I'm so grateful that I was given that opportunity. And when you design a school, it really challenges you to say, what would I like our society to look like in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years? And it gives you an opportunity to shape the future. And I think one of the things that I wanted our future society to have, I wanted it to be a place where everybody would be welcome, everybody would be included, everybody would have a place, everybody would have a role. So we had to think backwards. What are the things that we would put in place to make students of all abilities successful and to feel that they're part of the community and they can contribute productively toward the community and live independently within that community?
By promoting and designing a school community where children with and without disabilities learn and play together, we are changing the face of society. When students start young, learning side by side, it's a natural progression to live side by side. These are our future neighbors, friends, employers, employees, consumers. The reason we work so hard to create an inclusive school is because we want to create an inclusive society. And in this way, we are not only shaping a school culture, but a point of view for life.
Thanks, Ida. Thanks for sharing the video. Obviously, that video was from a couple of years back under different chancellors. But what's really great is that a lot of those practices that were sort of like at the forefront at the time are now part of regular days in our schools. And I see that Principal Mitchell has joined the call. Welcome, welcome, Aileen. I gave a very long and wonderful introduction about all of your abilities. We're ready to listen to your success stories of collaboration working with P53K when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Camille. Hello, everyone. It is so nice to be here, and I mean, I've had a relationship with P53 and D75 for over 21 years now, and you know, interestingly enough, this has been the worst of years, but the best of how we combine our resources together. So it's been a trying year as two leaders, but Heather Lakem has been my point person, and she leads P53. And we're doing, we're doing so many interesting things together. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about our ICT program, the logistics of it, because District 75, it has changed over the years. Just like our community, the diversity piece and who our students are as learners has changed, so has District 75. So I'm going to introduce my special ed supervisor, Myrna Gonzalez Rojas Gonzalez, and she's just going to give you very briefly what our logistics, you know, in our ICT program, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. Okay?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ms. Gonzalez. Thank you, Principal Mitchell. So our students in the P53 program are included in all our general education classes. They're both included in the academic and the non-academic classes. Each class that has our P53 students is assigned a paraprofessional who is essential in the work that we do. The paraprofessional serves as the teacher's assistant, and the paraprofessional pulls in person when we were in person. This paraprofessional was in charge of pulling students out for small group instruction. And now that we are remote, they continue to work with our students in the remote environment in small breakout rooms. The paraprofessional is super important in the classroom because they support students as needed and as appropriate. Not all students may need the support. Our staff, with our P53 staff, works amazingly and in collaboration with our ADA staff. They use the morning time to plan, which is key to the success of our students. They use the morning time, and our SES provider, our P53 SES provider, also uses her indirect SES period in order to collaborate and plan with our ADA teachers, just so they could differentiate, they could provide all the support that our students need. The after school program has been very important for our students or in our inclusion program. In the past, we don't have basketball this year, obviously, but in the past we've had two students remote. But in the basketball program, we had 2 students who were part of the team, and it was just amazing. But the success of being remote is that our P53 students are now involved in our remote virtual after school program, which is the highlight of everything. But our P53 students are very essential to everything we do at 88, and the collaboration, like Principal Mitchell has said, is just, it's amazing. It's 2 schools in 1 building.
Great. And over the years, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Myrna. While Myrna is new to our school as a special ed supervisor, she is just such a tremendous asset for us. So what I would say to you is when you walk through the classrooms, we have 20 ICT classes, 4 self-contained, 2 alternative assessment classes, and many other sets, special ed IEP driven students, I would say, that are receiving services. And then we have our inclusion students, and on a year, it's approximately maybe 15, 16, 17 students that are usually in one of our 3 learning communities. But what the beauty of it, let's talk about, we're a school that indulges and embraces project-based learning. The beauty of it is that you can pass by any classroom and you will never know who is the inclusion student, who is, there is no inclusion and ADA student. They are together, and the paras and the teachers, they are working together. We have an amazing relationship with the teachers downstairs, and I'm always astonished at how well trained their teachers and their paraprofessionals are in the strategies that they provide the students, and we learn from them. And another thing that I want to say, it's not just about inclusion. We flexibly group whenever we can. And sometimes it's not on the IEP, but if we can mainstream students, whether it's in phys ed or art, we're going to do that all the time because we share the building and it makes sense. And this year, more than ever, it's hard. It is very difficult sharing a building. And when you have 1,400 kids and then you have another 100 kids and you're sharing, it's hard, but you know what makes it so easy? It's the students that we serve and the teachers that support the students. And more than ever, I was talking to our superintendent, and he just stopped the other day. The relationship that I have with Heather Latham has allowed us to make the impossible possible this year. And we are sharing our strategies, our resources, our people, our after-school program, our supplies, our resources. And during the worst of times, we're finding the best of times. So Camille, I want to thank you for inviting me in. Anybody is welcome to come, after COVID or post-COVID, but it is an honor to speak to you and the CEC.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Principal Mitchell, for taking the time to come and speak to us and share the stories. God bless. Thank you so much for all of the amazing work that you're doing there. I want to thank all of our guests who really go above and beyond to care for students in the best possible ways. We have incredible leaders in District 15 who make exceptional efforts to make this world a better place for all our students. And thank you to our audience for attending this session today. Don't forget that all of these sessions can be found on the CECD15.org website. Do share this information with your school communities, and thank you so much for your continued support and advocacy for inclusive classrooms. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Excuse me, can I just have like a quick question? I'm sorry, I was assisting my daughter really quick. A lot of I don't think that this is a topic that it has been touched, but we are asking some of the schools, and I know that some of you are principals, with respect of the blended learning and the remote learning, and there's another option that it's where it would allow for children to go 5 days a week, the exception process model. So I'm wondering if any of the, like MSADA or any other school in District 15 are considering this model for the next classes, for those buildings that have the next, because I know that a lot of parents, we are asking, and some of the principals are not open to this idea. And if you are one of those principals just saying no, just if you can go really quickly, like why?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but actually this is supposed to be an info session, and so the question that you're asking, this very question, is going to be discussed probably tomorrow at our calendar meeting. That Saida, if you could drop the information about tomorrow night's meeting in the chat, and we're going to have a public comment period, and Superintendent Scott is going to be giving the district report. So we'll be sure to highlight that question right at the start. And so please do join the call tomorrow at 6:30. So have a wonderful day, everyone, and please save the date for our next session, which is November 30th. Our topic is going to be moral imperatives, orientations towards helping others, and developing concepts of social equality. Thank you so much. Take care and stay safe. Have a great day.